Joining me now from the foyer of the House of Commons, Lois Brown is the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister for International Development, Paul Dewar is the NDP Foreign Affairs Critic, and Joyce Murray is the Liberal Defence Critic. Thanks to you all for being here.
Good to be here.
My pleasure.
Lois Brown, I'd like to start with you. There's devastation obviously on the ground, over 4,000 dead, tens of thousands are homeless. What's the latest information on what Canada is doing to help with this new announcement today?
Well, thank you, Terry, and I don't think you're going to find any disagreement amongst all three parties here in the House and all Canadians who send their thoughts and prayers to the people of Nepal during this terrible time. We know that infrastructure has been broken. It has devastated the lives of so many people, and lives have been lost. And so our thoughts and prayers do go to the people there. As you mentioned earlier, Canada stepped up immediately and announced $5 million in humanitarian assistance. The Minister announced today that we will create a matching fund from April the 25th to May the 25th. Money that is donated through organizations, registered charitable organizations in Canada, will be matched dollar for dollar by the Canadian government. You also mentioned that we have our DART team there, and we have an assessment team who is leaving now to go and assist. We are going to continually be watching this and see how else Canada can be involved. One of the good things, Terry, is that we're working with the Canadian Red Cross, an organization who has great credibility here in Canada and around the world, and they are going to be responsible to get our stockpiles from both Mississauga and from Dubai into Nepal to help the people who so desperately need it. There will be jerry cans, tarps, there are hygiene kits, water kits, all of these things that are so necessary right now, and we want the people of Nepal to know that Canada is going to help.
But just before I let you go, none of these things have arrived yet, right? I mean, the earthquake was Saturday. Here we are, it's already Tuesday morning in Nepal. We haven't landed yet.
Well, Terry, one of the things that is constricting the movement of goods and services is the fact that the airport has had a terrible hit with this earthquake, and some of the airplanes that have come in to bring assistance, even from other countries, have had to be sent back. They've had to find other ways. We know that avalanches and rock slides have hampered the ability for trucks to get in from on the roads, and so it is very difficult to get things in. But what we want to do is to help as quickly as we can, and we are doing everything within the Canadian government's availability. The other thing that the Minister announced today that I think is important for Canadians to know, that the CF-17 that is going in with assistance is going to be available to evacuate Canadians who are there. So we encourage Canadians to get in touch with consular services. There is a 1-800 number. I think you're putting it on the screen, but let me just announce it. 1-800-387-3124. And for people in Canada, if they would like to call 613-996-8885, collect calls can be made to that, and we will be assisting people here in Canada and people who are calling from Nepal.
All right, Paul Dewar, Lois Brown started off saying she didn't think there'd be much disagreement about all of this. Is she right?
Well, not in certainly in our sentiment and taking action, and we obviously support the announcements that were made by the government today. In particular, we're wanting the government to match Canadians' donations, and that's being done. One of the concerns I think people had initially, and I've just gotten off the phone to my office, there's many people from my riding who are actually on the ground there. I just heard about Faye Kennedy, a Canadian who has been found, thankfully. I just heard that just before this interview.
Yes, she's been injured, but she has been found.
And we're very, very thankful. But we were hearing some concerns, and I'm not trying to throw mud or anything, but just what we're hearing is that there was concerns around being able to get through. We're now hearing back from people. People have been able to get through. One of the challenges was in 2013, the government did close the CETA kind of program office there, and they were transitioning to a more trade focus. And so the capacity that was there isn't there that was before. And the office that's open for consular affairs has hours from 9 to 12 Monday through Friday. So during the weekend, there just wasn't staff there, and of course there was a crisis. So we're hoping and hearing that more staff is going to be provided. We have a lot of people who are over there right now. Child Haven, a huge orphanage there that people in my riding, in fact people right across Canada, have been supportive of. I know the people there are safe, but they can't go back into their building. There's 200 people who are affected. These are children who are orphans as well as their mothers. So there's going to be a lot of need there, and the key is to be there for the long haul. Finally, on lift support, it's going to be tricky. I've talked to someone who knows the area well, and the heavy lift capacity we have is not necessarily what's going to be useful. We need nimble helicopters, and probably, I'm sure this is going to be happening, but contracting some of the operators who are on the ground helping people normally to go for climbs to Everest are the types of lift capacity we need, because these helicopters are actually able to navigate in these altitudes, and that's going to be something people have to figure out, because some of these places that we need to get aid to, we can't get to them by the normal ways.
Joyce Murray, do you believe that what we're doing is enough, or could we be doing better?
I think we need to have a longer-term commitment, and I think Canadians have been really shocked and dismayed at the magnitude of this earthquake and the damage, the number of people that have already died, and we know there are people still trapped in those buildings in Kathmandu. So we hope that the arrival of DART will be soon and will save lives. And I think it was a fast response. It's important that the Canadian government did protect the budget for DART. We heard that in committee. Given the amount of cuts to the defense budget that have happened since the freezes started 5 years ago, so I was concerned about whether DART would be capable and ready. It is, and I want to acknowledge the government for that. But there is a long-term rebuilding that will need to be done. I mean, think about Haiti and just the toll on people months, even years afterwards, and we'd like to see a long-term commitment from this government, and to really pitch in and help Canadians who are there and are experiencing that Canada's assistance just doesn't match up to that of other countries, and they're having to use the other consulates.
Let me ask Lois Brown a question about that, and it's about the immediate term. There are some 400 Canadians, more than that, in Nepal. CBC News has spoken with Emily Ann LaRue, an intern working with the United Nations in Kathmandu, and I want you to listen to what she had to say about Canada's consular response so far. Listen.
I think comparatively to many of the other countries that have foreign nationals here in Nepal, the Canadian government has been doing barely anything. That is to say that they sent us an email from Delhi telling us to be compliant with local authorities, and of course we are, because we're not going to run around breaking the law. We're just trying to survive.
Lois Brown, we've heard these complaints a lot. Is the Canadian consular presence in Kathmandu just so small and so weak that it can't do better than that?
Well, we have an honorary consulate there, Terry, and so we will be working. I know that the Minister of Foreign Affairs has advised our honorary consul that he is to give as much and every assistance to Canadians who are there. We are bringing in reinforcements from New Delhi, and as soon as they are on the ground, we know that they will be assisting Canadians. I have a constituent who contacted his father today. He was on Mount Everest when the earthquake hit. We're very, very thankful that he is safe, and we know that he's been in touch with his parents. So we are going to be working and doing everything we can to assist Canadians. As I said earlier, the CF-17 that is going in with goods and services for the people of Nepal is going to be available to airlift Canadians home, and I encourage them to get in touch with consular services there. All
right, I'm running quite short of time, but I would like to hear from Paul Dewar and Joyce Murray briefly, if you would, on this question of the apparent small capacity of the consular service in Kathmandu. Mr. Dewar.
Well, as I mentioned, there has been a reduction in the footprint, our diplomatic footprint in Nepal, and it has consequences. And so, as I mentioned to you before, there was concerns over the weekend. I was certainly getting calls to me personally, directly from people who were concerned they couldn't get through. So clearly the government has to look at this. you know, they did close down the operation in 2014. There are fewer people, frankly, on the ground, and so the outcome, this is the outcome of that, just there's fewer people to do the work, and you see the result.
And Joyce Murray, are you hearing the same kind of thing?
Well, through the media reports, yes, and I think this ties into the cuts to foreign affairs and diplomats that have happened under this government, as well as cuts to development assistance are also going to affect Canada's ability, or Canadians' ability, to help build. I just want to bring one further point, and that is, in Canada, we have a number of cities like Vancouver that are vulnerable to a major earthquake. And the Conservative government has cut the heavy urban search and rescue program in 4 cities. We Liberals will build that back, and we call on Prime Minister Harper to commit to building back that disaster relief program that would help in a case of an earthquake like this in one of our cities.
And you managed to get that little plug in. Well done. Thank you to Lois Brown, Paul Dewar, and Joyce Murray. Appreciate you all coming in.
Thanks, Terry.
Now,